Hello, and welcome back to Something Starts Ringing Tarot. My name is Ryan, and today I have a deck deep dive for you. I'm really excited about this new deck that I got. It's called the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and it's by Charlie Claire Burgess. Today I'm going to be walking you through this deck as I studied it my first time and how I study all my decks. It's going to be a pretty deep dive into every card. I want to start out though by saying that these are my opinions on the cards and the interpretations and the symbols in them. I haven't read through the entire guidebook yet, so the creator might have slightly different concepts or intentions behind this deck. So these are just my opinions. If they differ from Charlie Claire Burgess's guidebook, my apologies, but this is just what I think and what I enjoy about this deck. Spoiler alert, I really like this deck, so I'm going to be kind of gushing a lot, but I'm going to point out a lot of patterns and symbolism that I noticed going through this deck. There will be timestamps to the different sections in this video if you want to go to the description and check those out. Skip ahead, skip sections that you don't really care about. You can do that. So, also I will have a link to where you can buy this deck. This is the mass market version, so you can buy it pretty much anywhere. I got this copy at my local Barnes & Noble, but I'll provide a link where you can buy this deck if you would like it. I'm not sponsored in any way. This is just my opinions, and I just wanted to share this with you because I really enjoy this deck. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go through how I study the tarot deck and go into a deep dive of the Fifth Spirit Tarot. So this is the box, obviously. It is a pull-apart two-piece box. Inside it says, "May this deck guide you to your truth, for where you find your truth, you'll find your power." And it comes with a guidebook that fits perfectly in the box, so I really like that. It comes with a guidebook. It's nice and thick. I'm not going to go through this too much, but it does talk about each card. It does give a note on gender and inclusivity, which is very important in this deck. Some reversals, queering your tarot practice, talking about gender and changing the binary and things like that. Tarot spreads, and then it goes through the cards. There are no pictures of each card, but it does go through a pretty good description of each card, and acknowledgments and about the creator. And then this is Charlie themselves. All right, so now let's get into the actual cards, which everybody's excited about. So these are the backs. I guess I'll take them out of the box. These are the backs of the cards. They are reversible. So they're this nice like black and like a tan off-white color. I really like how detailed they are, and they just kind of catch your eyes. All right, so the first thing I do when I go through a deck is I do a quick flip through. So I'm going to flip through the cards fairly quickly, just look at them and maybe point out a couple things that stand out immediately. After this, I will go into a deep dive of all of the cards with different patterns. So first, I'm just going to do a quick flip through, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that quick flip through. That's what I do just to get my first impressions of the cards. I just wanted to go through that silently so you could see all the images if you have never seen them before. The next thing I do is I take a look, I separate it into majors. So I take all the majors, separate them. So I'll set those here. And then I separate out the suits. And I'm going to go through, this is part of the deep dive. So then I just separate them into the 4 suits. So I can get organized here. And this is obviously the last one. So I'm going to put that there. All right, now I'm going to zoom out and give you a bigger view so I can lay out more cards and discuss each card in detail. All right, so now I'm fully zoomed out. So I'm going to again take my deck and divide it into those 4 groups. So first I'm going to look at all of the majors. So this is how I study it. This is how I lay it out when I'm studying, so I'm going to do that for you. So I take the Fool and then lay out all of the majors and kind of center these up. All right, so now I'm going to go into that deep dive of each card and really give some details and things that I wanted to point out. So to start with the Fool, I really like how casual this Fool is, wearing their overalls. It's just a very light energy, I guess. Very innocent, very light, very kind of almost naive energy, full of possibility. Here's the Magician. Hopefully you can see these well enough. So I love the scientist vibe. A lot of the cards, or I think all of the cards, have astrological or planet or element symbols. So there's some hidden here. The Magician has all of the suits designated in the bottles or the components that they're using. Here's the High Priestess. She has, in all of these cards, the original Rider-Waite-Smith symbology is still there, even though the art has changed significantly and it's more inclusive and diverse and varied in people and ideas. So this is the High Priestess. So it has the water symbol here, it has the pomegranates, it has the scythe or the blade, it has the 2 towers, it has the moons, and all that. The Empress, what really sticks out to me in this card specifically is the Adam's apple on this person. Throughout this whole deck, as you can see, the intention of this deck is to play with gender and break the binary of masculine and feminine and expand on that and expand on the language of tarot using a fluid gender expression, I guess. So this Adam's apple kind of really makes this person, who is normally in the Empress card a female or female presenting, it makes this person have qualities of both traditionally male and female, so a non-binary kind of visual representation. Whatever they identify as doesn't really matter. It's just a nice Empress person. So I really like that. And then I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you have tattoos on their fingers. So that kind of has extra symbols as well. And you have the wheat and the greenery around this person, as well as the stars. The Emperor here, obviously you can see this person has breasts and a beard. So that again breaks the gender normality, or breaks the gender extreme binaries. So I really like that, and this is kind of like an engineer person. The Hierophant is like the librarian or the teacher, which I really like as the Hierophant. This person has experience, this person is wise, they still have the keys up here, which is great, and yeah, just a great Hierophant card. The Lovers is actually the cover of the box, so you probably saw that before, but I really like how this person is looking at themselves, or even like the dark version of themselves, or kind of an expansion galaxy universe of themselves, and just loving them and coming together and kind of making that decision to accept themselves for who they are, whether they are initially comfortable with themselves or not. So another great representation. The Chariot is a roller derby person, very strong, very protected, wearing the helmet, which I always read in the Chariot is something like the Chariot wears the armor, kind of like they're prepared for whatever's coming their way and prepared to go on this adventure and move forward in their life. So I really like that this person has a helmet on, has symbology all over their tattoos, and then the two roller skates are the black and the white things driving them or pushing them forward, or they're using to transport. And then I don't know if you can see on the video, but in a very fine detail on the skates here, it says Sphinx and Sphinx. So that calls back to the original Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, which I really, really like. All right, the Strength card here. Again, just another very beautiful card, very comforting, accepting, and this dog specifically, I believe, is a pit bull, which are normally considered aggressive breeds, or a lot of people seem to think that they're aggressive. So I really like this just comforting, loving picture of taking that typically viewed aggressive breed and showing that they have soft side in them, and this person has that like ability to comfort their inner demons or comfort their surroundings. This person on the Hermit, I really like this card. As you can see, they still have the lantern that they're holding in their hand. They have symbols on their backpack. They're alone in the woods. There's symbols on the trees as far as astrology or planetary. I'm not really sure of those yet. I haven't studied that, but there's little details all over, which I really, really like in this deck. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. In the corners, there's the elemental symbols in white. The Torah is written, or tarot, depending on how you read it, is written on the wheel, just like in the original, and then it has all the astrological symbols, very little around the edge of the wheel. You probably can't see that on camera, but it's very, very small on the wheel, so that still calls back to the original artwork, and I do really like the blindfold as well. Here's the Justice card, a very strong, powerful person walking. This says House of Law. We see the heart and the feather on the scales, and then the sword standing straight up strong. So another great, different, modern interpretation of justice. Here's the Hanged One. This person, it looks like, is hanging underwater, which is a very different interpretation. So this person is nude. They have hairy legs, which I really like, and long flowy hair. They are tied up in a very artistic, kind of restricted way. So I really think that speaks to the Hanged One of how they're kind of like intentionally there. It wasn't an accident. So I really like how that card is depicted. Then we get into Death, which is a very different, unique interpretation that I really, really like. It has the Death figure with the skull and the crown. It has a older person here that maybe, I don't know, has passed or maybe is about to pass. Then we have this couple here. I really like that they're mixed gendered, or mixed raced and similar gender, at least it appears so from their appearance in my eyes. And then this person is breastfeeding this child. So I really like the kind of death and rebirth circle that this presents as far as generations of people and love creating that new cycle. The Temperance card is also beautiful. This is the first one, if you've noticed, that has like full background artwork. So I'll point a little bit more about that later, but I just wanted to say that now. So this has the feet on the land and in the water. It has the wings in the white, the mixing of the elements and all that. Sorry about that. And yeah, just a very temperance card, balancing the energies of the harsh rocks and the sun and different things like that. Here's the devil. This goes to the puppetry or kind of controlling aspect of the devil and temptations. This person is holding wine. This person is holding or is smoking, looks like a cigar, cigarette or something. In these pictures, I would say that they are kind of dressed like, at least in my eyes, like a 50s like husband and his housewife. So it's kind of like being controlled and manipulated by society to think these are the only options in your life, which I really like in this deck that plays on the gender binary and kind of gender roles specifically. So I really like that that's the devil card, that you're kind of tempted into that binary lifestyle and shown like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do by the puppeteer. But you got to break free of those chains and kind of do your own thing and live your own life. So here's the temperance, or here's the tower card, sorry. It's this person sitting in front of presumably their house or some homestead of theirs that's on fire and has lightning and smoke. Obviously this is a very tower card. Disaster, big life change, and kind of confronting that change head on. This is the star card, another, I'm going to say this a lot, another beautiful example of a star card. We have the water pitchers flowing, taking the water out of the pool, putting water into the other pitcher, overflowing back into the pool. This person is nude, sitting and enjoying themselves. We have the stars above, and then this bird flying over. So just another beautiful representation. This is the moon card. It is a different, non-traditional interpretation. So this person is kind of stepping into the darkness of their life or stepping into the shadow of their life. They have hooded themselves from the rest of society and kind of are taking a deeper look into their self-conscious and diving deep into that moon energy. Here's the sun card. This is actually, I believe, I hope I'm not misspeaking, but I believe this is Charlie Claire Burgess themselves and their partner and maybe their dog. I don't know too much about their personal life, but I believe this is Charlie themselves. So I really like that they included themselves on the sun card and just kind of maybe their ideal day, living their life authentically and enjoying the sunshine. Here's Judgment. This is someone reaching the trumpet into the sky and kind of making an announcement to these, excuse me, wow. All right, making an announcement to these other people, and these people in the background are kind of raising up into the heavens or into the spirit world or whatever you believe. Excuse me. And I really like how this banner from this person that's holding is the Judgment title, which is different than all the other cards, as you can see. And then the World card is pretty traditional. You have all the normal symbolism. You have the snake, you have the different animals and people in the corners. You have the naked woman or naked person performing or stepping through the portal into their enlightened self. This also has the Alpha and Omega symbols, so it's kind of the beginning and the end of a cycle of the major arcana, which is exactly what the world symbolizes. All right, so that's a one by one through. Now I'm going to talk about some patterns that I noticed in these major arcana. The first thing I noticed is that in many of the beginning cards, so like 1 through 11, 12, 1 through 12, it's kind of like the beginning of the Fool's Journey, obviously. They have these white details. I hope they show up on camera, but these white details that call back to the original symbolism of the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork. So in the Magician, well, I guess I can start with the Fool. In the Fool, this person is carrying a white rose in their hand. The Magician has a wand, just like the original Magician in the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, and the lemniscate or infinity symbol is there as well. The crescent moons and the moon phases for the High Priestess are above their head. The stars, or the star crown on the Empress, is in there. The Emperor has ram horns drawn in with this white kind of detail. The Hierophant has the 2 keys, which I pointed out earlier. The Lovers has the heart and then the wings, kind of symbolizing that angel from the original that's up in the center of the card. The Chariot has the, what's it called? The crown of like flowers or plants, and then the 6-pointed star, so that calls back to the original artwork again. The Strength card has a rose crown on her head. It might be a little hard to see. Above the dog, there's a lemniscate, and above her head, there's a lemniscate, the infinity symbols as well. In the Hermit card, like I pointed out, is the lantern with the 6-pointed star. In the Wheel of Fortune is the 4 elements symbolized in that white drawing, that white line artwork. The Justice card, as I pointed out, has the heart, the feather, and the sword. And then the Hanged Man has the aura or crown or halo around the head, as it does in the original artwork. So I really thought that was a cool way to start off the Major Arcana, start off the Fool's Journey, kind of getting to know themselves, getting to know yourself, learning the lessons from all these archetypes, and really calling back to that original Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, even though this is a very modernized, gender fluid, race fluid deck. So then after the Hanged Man, they've kind of, this person or yourself has learned these basic lessons about humanity and all the archetypes that you meet along the Fool's Journey. And then you have Death, which is kind of the end of the cycle, the rebirth, the, I guess, kind of first real, like, hard lesson of the Major Arcana in my mind. So you go through that, and then you get into the full artwork. As you can see, all of these cards, starting with Temperance, has a full background, full artwork. So it's kind of like the leveling up of the Major Arcana in this deck I'm seeing. So Death is kind of full background here to no background here, so it's kind of the transition or birth into the new advanced version of yourself, I would say, or the Fool. So Temperance starts with the full background. This does have the white details, as the beginning did, but it does have that full background that's a little more darker, a little more full, filled out, kind of next level of that. So then we go through, and all of the cards in the later stages of the Major Arcana have the full backgrounds, have the full scene, the full colors. So it's basically the next, like, as I keep saying, the level up of this person or this Fool's Journey. They've learned, they're on their next step. And then the World card is this person stepping through a opening or portal or something like that into their fully enlightened self. These white rays are kind of emanating behind them, showing that they've learned all the lessons, as kind of mentioned by these white lines, and then the full background or full color cloud portal kind of, I think, represents the later stages of the Major Arcana. So they've officially completed the cycle of their lessons and learned what they can from the Major Arcana and are a full version of themselves. So that's a deep dive of the Major Arcana. I don't think there's anything else I need to specifically point out, but I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to now switch this over, and we're going to go through our first suit in depth. All right, so now I go through each suit, just the first 10 pip cards. So I'm going to go through them individually and talk about them, and then talk about the suit as a whole. So here we have the Ace of Wands. This has the hand coming up, throwing or catching this lighter or the spark of inspiration. It is surrounded by this fog, which I will talk about later, or this smoke, but it's kind of breaking through that new creative energy. The Two of Wands has a matchbox and a match with a portal, and then this beeswax candle that has not been lit yet. So it really speaks to that kind of calm planning, maybe waiting inside at night, planning for your next day, not lighting the spark yet, but kind of taking that time to plan. The Three of Wands uses the fire as the transport or the new adventure. So they're going in a in a hot air balloon, sorry. I really like the shadow that it's creating and the journey out into the horizon, whether that's a sunrise or sunset. The Four of Wands has this very homey feeling, very comforted at home. The fire is their heat and providing for them the food and the drink. So it's a very kind of homestead, welcome home, comfortable card. Five of Wands is obviously the conflict card, so we have all of these different harsh objects like a bat and a pitchfork and a burning flame torch and the wand and the nail in the 2x4. And then this is also a bee's nest. So in the guidebook, I actually read the description of this one. It talks about how even in this chaos and this conflict of your life, you can either fight and kind of sting each other like bees do when they're scared or in stress, or you can work together to create a beautiful network of productivity. So that's kind of what this refers to, which I really like as the Five of Wands. The Six of Wands is sparklers, which I really, really like, and with the crown as well, to go back to the original artwork. So it's this celebration, it's everybody celebrating you, or this person that kind of stands out in the center. And I personally like the sparklers because it kind of shows that your celebration might be short-lived because sparklers don't last forever. But you can enjoy this moment, enjoy your moment in the spotlight, enjoy having fun with people supporting you. The Seven of Wands is, I don't know, kind of a standard representation. It has the 6 burning or aggressive objects down here, and then the one standing strong in the middle with the flowers and the salamander, kind of defending themselves, standing up for themselves. The Eight of Wands is fireworks and a fuse that has been lit. So instead of the directional wands, as in the original Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, we have these fireworks that are about to explode and just communicate all that energy and show off and make a decision and go forth and show off that fire energy to everyone around, which I think is a great Eight of Wands representation. Here we have the Nine of Wands. This is there's 9 candles inside this castle or house or some sort of building. In one window you see the moon, and the other window you see the sunrise or sunset. So it's kind of the day and night, kind of at the end of your candle, at the end of your wick, burnt out but still holding strong even through the night, protecting kind of what's important to you. And the Ten of Wands is different than a typical Ten of Wands, but it's this fire that's just burning, burning, burning. It has all of the wands are kind of together. They're just burning with the flame and the passion, and the smoke is completely enveloping the fire. So that's the Ten of Wands. As far as the suit goes, I really like how the beginning cards, except for the ace, like the 2, 3, 4, 5, are kind of white backgrounds, light, kind of that beginning energy of the wands, the creativity, the planning, adventure, things like that. And then you get into the end of this suit, and you see this smoke come up in many of the cards, or this darkness. So I really like how that symbolizes kind of the conflict of the wands, the other people that might be against you, or the short-lived celebration, or kind of the shadow of worry that comes with the Nine of Wands, or running out of that energy. And then the Ten of Wands is like that completely enveloped, but still trying your hardest to burn through that smoke. And then the Ace of Wands is kind of breaking through that smoke and breaking through to a new, strong, creative energy. So I really like that kind of flow through the suit. All right, next I'm going to set up, I'm just going to continue this in one shot, I guess. I'm going to set up the pips of the next suit, which is the cups. All right, we're going to go through these a little quicker, I think. So we have the Ace of Cups. Again, it's the one hand. It is the overflowing cup with the water symbol. They have the cross medallion, as in the original artwork, and this blood, or this red liquid. I assume it's blood dripping down. So it's kind of like giving your whole heart, giving your whole energy to this love, this passion. And it's flowing into this kind of endless sea of water energy. The Two of Cups here, I really like the different cups kind of flowing into each other, or spilling into each other, or meeting. This shows like the energy of going towards each other, and they're kind of sloshing together. The two hearts are kind of tied in knots with this rope, which I really like for the Two of Cups. And then these little ladybugs kind of to symbolize that love, or kind of like love in the Two of Cups. The Three of Cups is again filled with symbology, so it has the three different canisters or cups that have come together to celebrate or spend time with each other. I really like the detail of the lipstick mark on this one specifically, because that shows maybe this person got dressed up and put makeup on and wanted to meet with their friends and celebrate this important event or kind of special occasion. So I read into that lipstick a lot. I like this braid because it takes the three strands to come together to create this braid, and then the three cookies as well, and the three spoons. So there's a lot of threes in this card. The Four of Cups here, we have the three cups that are empty or spilled, and then the one is being presented with a flower that is filled up. So that's a very kind of, it leans traditional. It's obviously different artwork, but it has that presenting of the full cup that you might not be noticing. The Five of Cups is an interesting take. It has the two upright full cups here and the three upside down or broken canisters. This one's like a soda can crushed. So that's kind of traditional. Then you have this house or this structure surrounded by this black water or liquid. The boat is kind of flowing away from the house, but it's all protected within this beautiful greenery and flowers. So there's like that sadness, that depression, but you kind of have to find your home, find the two cups that give you hope, I guess. Here's the Six of Cups. It has a lot of different canisters that represent childhood or nostalgia to me. This is kind of like new growth in a plant. This is kind of new ideas that might not have flourished when you were a kid, thrown away. This is like playing on the playground, and there's even a band-aid, so it might have gotten a little hurt, learned a lesson. Here's a soda can with a straw that's been chewed, so I think that's a really cute kind of childish, looking back, nostalgic thing. There's a tooth in a canister with some money, symbolizing, I assume, the tooth fairy. So it's like those childhood beliefs, that childhood innocence. And then I read these as lightning bugs, because that's something I did when I was a child, catching lightning bugs in a jar and kind of seeing them light up and just kind of give that childhood innocence and brightness. The Seven of Cups has the seven canisters with different life things going on. This one's like a snow globe. This has a diploma or a scroll of some sort. Like adventure with this big ship in the bottle. Then this one is like overflowing with this octopus or tentacle of some sort. So there's kind of like good and bad options, and you have to kind of overcome the confusion to choose what you like. Or you might like a combination of all of them. The Eight of Cups here is all of these pans or canisters inside this house, and it looks like the roof is leaking, so there's all these drips. So these cups are kind of overflowing with the water and overflowing with that broken thing in your past, and it shows that the door is open and that there is a way forward away from this home or homestead that is no longer serving you. So it might be like these served you well in the past. They have caught many of the leaks or trauma in your past, but it's time to move on. They can no longer serve you, so you need to find a new place for that water energy. The Nine of Cups here has all these pedestals with different canisters or different cups on them. We have champagne, we have coffee, we have a trophy, we have some intricate artwork. So it's kind of showing that proud of yourself, proud of your possessions and your where you are in life, your emotions and things like that. Wow, I'm moving all these around. Okay, and then the Ten of Cups has the 10 cups overflowing with that water, showing that abundance of love, that abundance of family. It calls back to the original Rider-Waite-Smith by having this rainbow on this cup. It has a baby bottle here with the baby cap and nozzle on it. So that kind of calls to the family as well. There's even a dog dish, so that brings in the pets in your family. And then it has 4 goldfish, which I kind of read into it as a family of goldfish or a school of goldfish all together in this overflowing water. As far as overarching things in the cups, I didn't particularly notice anything right away. I do like this black darkness kind of in these few cards that kind of symbolizes the darkness of the sadness of emotion as well as the happiness, so it kind of gives that dark contrast against the white background. Other than that, that's the cup suit. Alright. Next we're going to get into, hopefully I can keep this all straight over here. Next we're going to get into the swords. Alright, so I haven't mentioned this yet, but this deck is somewhat Pippish, but as you can see, each card has so much symbolism and so much detail that you can read a lot into the scene or read a lot into the pips. So I've heard it called pips with feeling before. So it doesn't have people, it doesn't really have scenes per se, but they do have a lot of symbolism that you can read into that scene that you would normally see with people or things going on. So if you're scared of pip decks, I encourage you still to check this one out because it does, as you can see, have a lot of symbolism and a lot to look into on each card, not just 2 swords or 2 wands or 3 cups or whatever. So here we have the Ace of Swords. Again, it's the one hand presenting or catching or giving the sword energy. In this case, it's a pocket knife. So it's in this spiral of confusion or old ways of thinking, and it's this new energy that's breaking through that, kind of upsetting the system. The Two of Swords has kind of the traditional wavy water in the background, the gray water, the closed eye, which is kind of symbolizing the blindfold or the covered eyes in the original artwork, the crossed swords, the 2 opposite phases of the moon, and then this moth as well. So that has some traditional decision-making, confusion energy. The Three of Swords is very different than traditional. You can see that this anatomical heart has 3 piercings in it, or 3 wounds that have presumably been stabbed by a sword, as in traditional artwork. But then these 3 needles in this representation are stitching it back up. So there's stitches in this one, and they are kind of flying around the heart, kind of stitching it back up or putting the pieces back together from that anxiety or loss or heartbreak that you feel in the Three of Swords. The Four of Swords is a very interesting take. It's kind of underground, this hibernation sort of representation. It has the four swords around this animal. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's some sort of like cicada. So they rest in the ground for years and years and years until they hatch and they kind of make a difference in the world, in good or bad. So this is like their rest period, their hibernation period, their growth, their kind of away from the world. Four of Swords. The Five of Swords has the five knives here and the victor flag waving above everything, but as you can see it has holes in it, so like the original Five of Swords, this victor in the conflict of the Five of Swords may have won, but they have been damaged, and it's kind of like, what's the cost of winning again in this Five of Swords. The Six of Swords has the boat and the six nails in the boat as the six swords of the traditional artwork. I really like the black liquid again. That kind of calls back to the wand suit, or the cup suit, sorry. So that like darkness that you might be passing through to get to the horizon, that is kind of the new opportunity or the traveling to better things. And then I really like this flying V of the geese, kind of going together, putting all of your energy into getting on to the next stage of your life. The Seven of Swords has the bird as the thief. So they have the seven swords here, but they have also collected all of these little trinkets, like a little nut, a little key, a ring, some jewels maybe, a necklace. So they've stolen things and they've kind of kept them to themselves. But as you can see, this bird is looking over its shoulder or over its wing, and it's probably been noticed by the family that it's stolen all of this from. So you kind of got to be careful with your thoughts and not try to trick and deceive others, because you're probably going to get caught and your nest might be broken by the swords that have noticed you. All right, so the Eight of Swords is all scissors. So there are 8 pairs of scissors that are kind of tied up with that bandage that goes back to the references the original Rider-Waite-Smith artwork. But this 8th scissors is cutting it, and I really like the play on all the scissors have the opportunity, but it's really taking that thought and that last kind of last ditch effort in your thoughts, that last hope of cutting the ties and getting out of the bondage that you're in mentally. The Nine of Swords is a very dark background, which is kind of different than most of the other cards in this deck. So we see the blatant black background with all of these different sharp objects. So it's kind of like nightmares, horror, kind of all the weapons a murderer might use or something like that in your nightmares. So I really like the contrast of the dark card for the Nine of Swords. And then the 10 again is a very dark card, as it always is in the tarot. And this is a bird that has been pierced by 10 needles or pins, and they're kind of bleeding out. But then you see in this like egg-shaped something floating above them, it's kind of this skeleton that's rising up, maybe ascending to a different life, maybe reincarnating into something special or different. So it's kind of the end of one life and the rise into another change of your life. All right, so that's the sword suit. And last but not least, we'll get into, let's see here. We'll get into the Pentacles suit. Alright, so we have the Ace of Pentacles. Again, as all the other aces have had, is just the one hand either accepting or presenting the pentacle. In this case, it's a flower bulb or a plant bulb that's ready to spring forth and become more than what it is now, I guess. So it has this dark earth that presumably it's either being planted in or being like raised from, and then the water kind of symbolizing that first growth, that nutrients that's required for growth. The Two of Pentacles has this shovel or gardening trowel with the balancing or spinning of this like walnut and two spinners. I don't even know what they're called, but from trees they spin around and fall down. So this is kind of balancing. It gives that motion, that balance between two earthly elements that you would see in the normal Two of Pentacles. It has the lemniscate as well that calls back to the original infinity symbol on the original artwork. So that speaks to the earthly energy that you're balancing. It's very intentional, supported by the earth, balancing that energy. The Three of Pentacles here has these three different tools that are working together to create something. They look like woodworking tools specifically, so maybe doing a kind of hands-on work together with three people to create something. This has the cross on the top and the bell, which I read as a church or some sort of traditional religious building, as in kind of the original artwork seems like a old style traditional building. So this is kind of that community of working hard together to create one common project and using your teamwork to build that. The Four of Pentacles here has four different pentacles on these different gold trinkets, I guess. This is a locket, a stopwatch, a crown, and then a pentacle coin. So this is all underground in the roots. So this is kind of saying that these objects, these material objects, make up kind of the base, the root system of the situation or your personality or your life. So it's kind of holding on to those earthly, materialistic items and not being aware of like what could grow if you got out of that depth root system. So maybe this has been cut off, but you don't know that yet. You're just holding on to what you have. Here's the Five of Pentacles. It's a different interpretation, but I do really enjoy it. It has this cross or this bread on this comforted blanket by this pile of stones, maybe a cemetery of some sort, kind of this downtrodden, snowy, cold atmosphere, but there is help out there if you look for it. The Six of Pentacles here has a donation bin, which all the pentacles are going into. I really like the scale on this, so that's kind of balancing where you put your earthly energy, where you put your investments. All of these are different things that can help different people. So it's just where you put that donation can change different people's lives depending on what your energy is put into. The Seven of Pentacles has this pumpkin patch or pumpkin vine, but then it says peas on it, which is interesting to me. I haven't read the manual or the guidebook on this one. So it's kind of like, what are you trying to harvest here? Taking that step back, realizing that there's a lot of work to do, but also, are you growing what you expect to be growing? I'm not sure if that's exactly right. I need to look into that one a little bit, but I like that kind of play on doing some of the work that you need to do, but taking a break because it's not the work that you're meant to be doing or something like that. I don't know. Excuse me. Here's the Eight of Pentacles. It is all the different woodworking or engineering or kind of hands-on work that different tools that you need to do different parts of a job. So this speaks to that becoming a master and knowing how to use every tool in your arsenal to do the work, to kind of perfect what you're working on by using the right tool to do the right job and knowing that mastery of how to use everything that comes, every challenge that comes to you. Here's the Nine of Pentacles, very kind of abundant card. It looks like there's only one place setting at this table, which kind of goes back to the original artwork with one person standing in the garden. This person is clearly wealthy or provided for. They have all of this food for themselves. They have, they're just kind of living their elegant, abundant life. They have this endless table of things that are provided for them. They have no worries in the world. They are just satisfied and provided for. And then the Ten of Pentacles shows this very solid stone house, which is kind of like speaks to the generations of legacy that you leave behind by making good investments, by making good hard work for your family and stuff like that. So this is kind of a home that has been there for generations. It has a welcome mat, so it's kind of welcoming others in, welcoming your community, but having that very stable, solid foundation that's going to last for generations. All right, so that is all 4 of the pip suits. And now we're going to get into the court cards. So I'm going to go through each suit's court cards. So this is the Wands. So we have the Page of Wands here, Knight of Wands, Queen of Wands, and King of Wands. And I'm going to kind of talk about the court cards as a group because that's how I view them and how I see them in this deck. Specifically, I want to point out that they are all very different people. They are all very diverse. They are all very, what's the word, like breaking the gender binaries or typical presentations of gender, which this deck goes back to its like intent. I want to point out in the Wands suit, they all have this like brown and green energy. So this page has green shoes, the Knight has green shoes, the Queen has green shoes, and the King has this green scarf. And then this page has like a tan brown coat. This person's skin is kind of the tan brown here. This one, I guess, doesn't have as much of that color, but the person is brown, so maybe that kind of plays into it. I might be reading into this too much, and then this person has the tan coat. So they all really go together. They're kind of matching in their clothes. There's also little red details in every card, and then a little flame or a little flower or a little light in every card to kind of symbolize that wand energy. So I really like how they all go together. They all match, but they are all uniquely themselves and have their own energy. I really want to point out too, in this drag queen card, you don't see the typical symbolism, but then when you look closer, you can see that this mic stand is maybe the wand, the strong wand, strong wand of the queen that she's holding or this person's holding. And then this ballroom or this neon sign that this person is performing in says 9 Lives Ballroom with a little cat. So that goes back to the black cat in the original artwork, which I really, really enjoy that's kind of made it onto the card, even in this very modern, unique interpretation of the Queen of Wands. All right. So then I'm going to go to the cups. So as you can see, again, these all kind of match with their color scheme and vibe. Obviously, they're all the courts of the cups, so they should. So I really like how the artist intentionally did that. They all have yellow and blue, is what I've noticed. So this page has this yellow hat, the Knight has the yellow shirt, the Queen has the yellow undershirt, and the King has the yellow sweater over their outfit. And then they also have little pink details, which is really great. So the page has little pink details on the shoes. The Knight has pink shoes and a pink coat. The Queen has pink shoes, and the King has pink socks and a pink tie. So I really like that. They also all have the bluish purple details. So the page has this bluish purple shirt, bluish purple hair, bluish purple tablecloth, and bluish purple cushion and shoes. So I really like how they all go together. They all seem to be in the same energy, that Cups energy, but they're all different and uniquely themselves. One thing I want to point out specifically is that the King of Cups has I believe it's a cochlear implant, if that's the right word. They were hard of hearing, and they have that hearing aid that attaches to the side of their head. So I really wanted to point that out. That is a very subtle but great thing to include in a tarot deck, is that hearing impairment, or kind of that deaf people or hearing impaired people are in our world as part of our lives. So that's just a subtle detail that they've included. I can also mention the Page of Cups has a wheelchair, so that's another kind of disability represented in the tarot, and this Page of Cups might not be the normal card that people choose to represent a wheelchair that I've seen in other decks. So I really like those details. All right, let's go to the swords. So this one is even more clear that they all are color coordinated. Obviously you can see that they all have the yellow details. So we have the yellow book and the shoes, the yellow bicycle helmet, and the little details on the sword, the yellow shoes, the yellow sword, and the yellow details on the dress, and this yellow scarf. And then they also have the gray, which is the gray shirt, the gray dress, and the gray skirt. And then they also have a dark gray or black. So it's the black pants with skulls, the black throne, and the black kind of vest or overcoat in the King. I really like each representation of these. This Page of Swords is very clearly like studying, carrying the sword on their shoulder, letting the wind go through their hair, kind of enjoying themselves, moving on, learning. The Knight of Swords is clearly going down a hill, or really going into battle, making that action, taking their thoughts into action. They're prepared with the helmet. They have the badass skulls on their leggings, just going for it. They know they're confident. They don't care what's in their way, going for it. The Queen has the strong sword lifting up and the hand held out on her left, kind of welcoming you, but warning you that she can manipulate you and knows what you're thinking, kind of. And then the King of Swords is that proclamation of, these are my thoughts, I'm confident in my thoughts, I've learned my lessons, we need to speak up about these things and make a difference in the world, because I've done the study, I know what's going on, this is what I need to tell the world. All right, and then we have the Pentacles. And lastly, as you can see, these are again color coordinated, or they all have details of the same color. So we have the orange tank top, the orange backpack, the orange shirt, and kind of the orangish brownish pants here. We have green, so we have green pants, green shorts, green plants around this person, and the green coat. And they also, I was going to say pink. These have pink details, but I don't specifically see a pink detail in the page other than this rainbow. So maybe that's kind of the call to it. But they all have that, again, they all have the same color scheme. They all have the same energy. It's very earth colored, very earth tones with the pentacle suit, but they are all uniquely different in their personality, their human traits. They all have their own unique selves. A couple things I want to point out about these is that the Page of Pentacles has that flower bulb kind of over their hands. They might be accepting the new knowledge, the new earthly energy, making good choices in their life, like the Ace. The Knight of Pentacles has this prosthetic leg, which I really like, but this person is determined and they're going on a hiking adventure clearly, so it's not stopping them. It might slow them down a little, like the normal Knight of Pentacles would be a little slower than the other knights, but they've made up their mind. They are healthy enough, they are capable enough to go on a hiking adventure, and I love that for the Knight of Pentacles. And then this King of Pentacles, I don't know if this is intentional, but this has a green cloak or kind of suit coat, and this kind of gives me Alexander Hamilton vibes from the Hamilton musical. That's probably not intentional, but that's what I see in this card, and I think that's an interesting King of Pentacles representation because he was in control of the treasury and kind of starting the new nation with investments and like line of credit. So if that's not intentional, I like that I see that in this card. All right, so we've made it through the whole deck. So in conclusion, this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I hope you have enjoyed my deep dive walkthrough. I do this with every deck that I do. I also go through each number, so I'm not going to do that in this video, but like I lay out all the aces, I lay out all the twos, and see if there's any commonalities between those. Normally there are. I haven't done it with this deck yet, but I'm sure there are because everything else seems so patterned and intentional. So this is the Fifth Spirit Tarot. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope this really gave you more of an in-depth look into this deck. I really am impressed by it. I was kind of worried because of the pippish nature of the minor arcana, but I really like that they have their scenes. They have all the symbology from the original artwork. They have callbacks to the original artwork in the major arcana and the minor arcana. The inclusivity and diversity of this deck is just amazing. I really want to meet each and every person in this deck. I really think they all have their own personal stories to tell, which is great for a tarot card. Each person has their own story, they have their own energy, but they are part of the system. So I really hope you enjoyed my deep walkthrough. I'm going to keep flipping through the rest of these cards just to show them one more time. I hope you go get this deck or follow the creator on Instagram. I will link their link in the description as well. Again, the creator is Charlie Claire Burgess, and I am overly impressed with how they did this tarot deck. This is a great tarot deck that just includes everyone, has calls to all the inclusivity, diversity that you would want. It's very intentional, but it's not forced. You see these people in your normal life. You want to be friends with all these people, and the cards they chose for certain disabilities are not the ones that would be like traditionally or obviously chosen, but they still work. So thank you for watching. This is the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and I hope you enjoyed. With that, this is what I'm talking about. This is life. You manage to be happy for 5 seconds, and then something starts ringing.